Have you ever noticed how some of the foods you buy seem to lose their flavor and freshness way too quickly? Maybe you've even wondered why your tomatoes turn mushy or why your bread gets stale in no time. While we often think the refrigerator is the solution to keeping everything fresh, the truth is that storing certain foods in the fridge can actually make them worse, affecting their texture, taste, and even safety. For seniors, proper food storage is even more crucial. As we age, our immune systems naturally become less efficient, making us more vulnerable to foodborne illnesses and digestive issues caused by improperly stored foods. But it's not just about avoiding risks. Storing food the right way also ensures that we're getting the most nutritional value from our meals, keeping us energized and healthy. And who doesn't want to enjoy food at its best, right? In today's video, we're diving into a topic that's not often talked about: food storage. We'll take a look at the common mistakes people make when storing food, especially seniors, and how you can easily avoid them. We'll cover which foods should never be stored in the fridge and the best ways to preserve the quality of your meals without relying on refrigeration. By the end, you'll have a solid understanding of how to make small changes in your food storage habits that can have a big impact on your health, wallet, and the environment. But it's not all about storage techniques. We'll also talk about the hidden dangers of storing food incorrectly. Did you know that some common foods can become harmful to eat when kept in the fridge for too long? We'll explore that too, and give you the know-how to avoid these risks. If you're ready to learn how to keep your food fresher for longer and protect your health at the same time, make sure to hit the like button, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Tap the notification bell so you never miss out on valuable tips like these. We're so glad you're here with us today and excited to share these food storage secrets with you. So let's jump right into it and explore the first step to better food storage. Number 1, why proper food storage matters for seniors. Let's face it, food is one of the greatest joys in life, especially when it's fresh and full of flavor. But as we get older, food storage becomes a more important factor in our overall health and well-being. If you've ever noticed your meals losing flavor or your fruits and veggies spoiling faster than you expected, it's time to think about how you're storing your food. For seniors, proper food storage isn't just about keeping your food fresh. It's about preserving the nutrients and ensuring that the food we eat supports our health rather than putting us at risk. As we age, our immune systems naturally weaken, making us more vulnerable to foodborne illnesses. A small mistake, like refrigerating a tomato or leaving leftovers out too long, could lead to unpleasant health issues. The last thing any of us want is to make a meal and then worry about whether it's safe to eat. Take, for example, a friend of mine, Margaret, who's in her early 70s and loves cooking for her family. One day she made a delicious salad with freshly purchased tomatoes. But when her grandson took a bite, he frowned and asked, "Grandma, why do the tomatoes taste so mushy?" Margaret was puzzled because she had just bought them and stored them in the fridge to keep them fresh. What she didn't realize is that tomatoes, like many fruits, should never be kept in the refrigerator. The cold temperature alters their texture and flavor, making them less enjoyable to eat. This situation is something we all can relate to at some point in our lives. We all want to offer the best meals to our loved ones, but sometimes simple storage mistakes can lead to frustration. What's worse is that these mistakes can also affect our health. Did you know that improper food storage can lead to nutrient loss? Fresh fruits and vegetables are packed with vitamins and minerals that help keep our bodies strong, but when they're stored in the wrong conditions, they lose their potency. As seniors, we need to maximize the nutrients we get from our food, not lose them to poor storage practices. So what does this mean for us as we age? It's not just about preventing food from going bad. It's about making sure we are eating the best quality food possible. By storing our food correctly, we can help ensure it retains its nutrients, taste, and texture, which in turn helps us maintain a healthy diet and better health overall. Moreover, for seniors, proper food storage can also help save money. How often have you had to throw away a half-eaten loaf of bread or toss out a bunch of wilted spinach because it didn't last as long as you hoped? By taking a little extra time to store food correctly, you can reduce waste and stretch your grocery budget further. For example, instead of putting bread in the fridge, which can dry it out quickly, try storing it in a bread box. And if you can't finish it in time, freezing bread is a great way to keep it fresh for longer. Similarly, fruits like bananas and avocados shouldn't go in the fridge until they're ripe. Bananas will blacken and lose their flavor in the fridge, while avocados need warmth to ripen properly. Once they're ripe, popping them in the fridge can help them last longer. Simple changes like these can make a huge difference. Now think about your own food storage habits. Do you have any foods you keep in the fridge that might not belong there? What changes can you make today to improve how your food stays fresh and nutritious? Let's move forward and explore the next section. Foods that lose their flavor and texture when stored in the fridge. This will help you avoid those common mistakes and make the most out of your meals. Number 2, foods that lose flavor and texture in the fridge. Now let's talk about the foods that should never be stored in the fridge because they actually lose their flavor and texture in cold temperatures. I'm sure you've experienced it, biting into a tomato that's gone mushy or grabbing a slice of bread that's gone dry and crumbly. It's frustrating, right? You buy fresh food with the intention of enjoying it at its peak, only to have it spoil faster than you expected. Take tomatoes, for example. This is one of the biggest culprits. If you've ever put tomatoes in the fridge, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. The cold temperature in the fridge alters the texture, making them grainy and soggy and completely dulling their flavor. Tomatoes are at their best when stored at room temperature, away from direct sunlight. Keeping them on the kitchen counter or in a bowl will help them stay juicy and flavorful so you can enjoy that perfect tomato slice on your sandwich or in your salad. And let's not forget about bread. This is another common mistake. When we think about storing bread, it's natural to toss it in the fridge to make it last longer. But in reality, storing bread in the fridge actually dries it out faster. The cold air draws moisture out of the bread, leaving you with hard, stale slices. Instead, store your bread in a bread box or airtight container at room temperature. If you know you won't finish it in time, freeze it. Freezing bread preserves its freshness, and you can simply toast slices whenever you need them. Potatoes are another food that should never go in the fridge. You might think that refrigerating them keeps them fresh, but the cold temperature causes their starches to turn into sugar, which changes the flavor and makes them oddly sweet and gritty when cooked. To keep your potatoes fresh and firm, store them in a cool, dark place like a pantry or cupboard, and don't store them near onions. Both potatoes and onions emit gases that speed up the spoilage process when they are kept together. Then there are fruits like bananas and avocados that also should not be stored in the fridge, at least not until they're ripe. Refrigerating bananas before they're fully ripe causes the skin to darken and the texture to become mushy. Keep bananas at room temperature to let them ripen naturally. Once they're ripe, you can place them in the fridge to extend their shelf life. The same goes for avocados. They need to ripen at room temperature before you store them in the fridge. If you refrigerate them too early, they might never soften. You might be surprised by how these small changes in food storage can make a big difference in the quality of your meals. The next time you're at the grocery store, pay attention to how you store your fresh produce when you get home. How often have you had to throw out a soft, mushy tomato or a stale loaf of bread? By simply changing where and how you store these foods, you can enjoy fresher meals with better flavor and texture. So here's my question for you. What foods do you currently store in the fridge that might be better off on your kitchen counter or in a different place? Are you guilty of putting bread or tomatoes in the fridge? If you're still watching and finding this information valuable, please leave a comment below sharing your thoughts or any tips you have for proper food storage. We'd love to hear your experiences. And if you haven't subscribed yet, consider subscribing and turning on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Your support really motivates us to continue creating helpful content just for you. Now let's move forward and talk about something even more important. Foods that can actually become harmful when stored in the fridge. This is a topic you definitely don't want to miss, as some common foods can become unsafe when they are stored improperly. Let's dive into that next. Number 3, foods that can become harmful when refrigerated. Now let's get into something that might surprise you. Did you know that some foods can actually become harmful when stored in the fridge? It's true. While the fridge is a go-to place for many of our groceries, not everything should be kept there. Storing the wrong items in cold temperatures can change their chemical structure, making them unsafe or unhealthy to eat. For seniors especially, this can be a real concern since our immune systems are naturally weaker as we age, and improper food storage can lead to foodborne illnesses or digestive issues. Take garlic, for example. You might be surprised to learn that garlic shouldn't go in the fridge. When stored in cold, moist environments, garlic can sprout, and worse, it can develop a moldy smell. This mold could cause digestive problems or more serious issues if consumed. Instead, keep garlic in a cool, dry place, like a pantry or in a special garlic keeper with ventilation holes. This will keep it fresh for weeks, and you won't have to worry about any strange smells or sprouting. Another food that shouldn't be refrigerated is potatoes. While we've talked about how the fridge can change their flavor and texture, there's also a health risk involved. Storing potatoes in the fridge causes the starches to turn into sugar, which not only makes them taste odd, but can also create a harmful chemical called acrylamide when cooked at high temperatures like frying or roasting. Acrylamide has been linked to certain types of cancer in large amounts. To avoid this, store your potatoes in a cool, dark place like a pantry, away from the fridge, and keep them in a well-ventilated spot. It's a simple step that can make a big difference in both taste and safety. Then there's honey, which might seem a little strange to consider. Most people think storing honey in the fridge will keep it fresh longer, but actually it causes the honey to crystallize and harden, making it difficult to use. Honey is naturally antimicrobial and can last for years when stored properly at room temperature in a sealed container. So there's no need to refrigerate it, and keeping it in the fridge will only make it more of a hassle to use. Cooking oils, like olive oil, are another food that can suffer in the fridge. While it might seem like a good idea to keep your oils in the fridge to make them last longer, the cold causes the oil to solidify and form clumps. While this doesn't make the oil unsafe to eat, it alters its quality and makes it harder to use. Instead, store your oils in a cool, dark cabinet away from heat and light. That way the oils will stay in perfect condition and be easier to work with. And here's something else that's often overlooked. Fruits like melons and citrus. Once they're cut, if you don't store them properly in the fridge, they can become a breeding ground for bacteria. The moist environment of the fridge combined with improper sealing can cause harmful bacteria to grow on the exposed surface, leading to foodborne illnesses. Always store cut fruits in airtight containers to keep them fresh and safe to eat. So, here's a question for you. Have you been storing any of these items, like garlic, potatoes, or honey, in the fridge without realizing the potential risks? What changes can you make today to keep your food safe and nutritious? Now let's move forward and talk about how we can make our food last longer without even relying on refrigeration. You'd be surprised at how many foods can stay fresh and delicious without ever having to go in the fridge. Let's dive into that next. Number 4, the role of freshness in a healthy diet for seniors. Now let's talk about something that really matters when it comes to food. Freshness. Fresh food isn't just about taste. It's about providing your body with the nutrients it needs to stay healthy. For seniors, eating fresh, nutrient-rich foods is essential to maintaining energy levels, supporting a strong immune system, and improving overall well-being. The fresher the food, the better it is for your body. And that's why knowing how to store food properly is so important. You've probably noticed how much better a freshly picked apple tastes compared to one that's been sitting around for a while. The same goes for vegetables. The crunch of fresh greens, the sweetness of a ripe tomato, or the richness of freshly picked berries. These foods are packed with vitamins and minerals that help fight off illness, boost your immune system, and give you the energy to stay active. But when these foods are improperly stored, they lose some of their nutritional value. They don't have the same vitality or power to nourish your body. Let's think about the importance of fresh produce for a moment. As we age, our bodies need extra nutrients to keep everything functioning well. Fresh fruits and vegetables provide important vitamins like vitamin C, which helps strengthen the immune system, and antioxidants that protect our cells from damage. When food is stored improperly or past its prime, it loses some of these nutrients, making it less beneficial for your body. Here's where proper food storage comes into play. When you store your produce correctly, keeping things like leafy greens and berries fresh, or storing citrus at room temperature until they're ready, you're preserving the very things that help you stay healthy. Fresh fruits and vegetables are easier to digest, And they provide the fiber your body needs for smooth digestion, which can help prevent issues like constipation or bloating. And let's not forget, fresh foods simply taste better. The key is to eat these foods while they're fresh. The longer they sit around, the more they lose their nutritional value. Fresh food provides energy, supports a healthy immune system, and even helps improve your mood. When food is vibrant and full of life, you feel more vibrant and alive too. It's that simple. Now you might be thinking, how can I keep my food fresh for longer? It's not just about what you store, it's about how you store it. For example, vegetables like spinach or lettuce should be stored in a damp paper towel and placed in a breathable bag to prevent wilting. Fruits like apples and pears should be kept in a cool place, not the fridge, until they're ready to be eaten. And even simple things like storing potatoes in a cool, dark place and not in the fridge can make all the difference in how long they last and how fresh they taste. So here's a question for you. How often do you eat fresh fruits and vegetables in your daily meals? And do you think about how you're storing them to preserve their nutrients? If you're still watching and find this information valuable, please feel free to leave a comment below with your thoughts or any tips you have on keeping food fresh. And if you haven't subscribed yet, we'd love for you to join our community. Just hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos. Your support really motivates us to keep creating content that helps you live a healthier and more fulfilling life. Now let's move forward and explore some quick and easy tips for storing food correctly. These tips will help you make the most out of your groceries, save time, and ensure you're always eating fresh, nutritious food. Number 5, quick tips for storing food correctly. So we've talked about the importance of food storage and how it affects both the quality of your meals and your health. But let's get to the practical side of things. How can you store your food in the best possible way to keep it fresh for longer and maximize its nutritional value? It doesn't have to be complicated, and with a few simple changes, you can make a big difference. Let's start with dry goods like coffee and nuts. If you're a fan of fresh coffee, you probably want to preserve that rich aroma. Coffee beans, when exposed to moisture or air, lose their flavor very quickly. The same goes for nuts. They can go rancid or stale if stored in an open container. To keep both of these fresh, store them in airtight containers in a cool, dark place. If you want to keep your coffee fresh for even longer, you can store it in the freezer and just take out the amount you need each time. Next up, fruits and vegetables. We all know that fresh produce is packed with nutrients, but storing them improperly can lead to spoilage or loss of those valuable vitamins and minerals. For fruits like apples, citrus, and bananas, keep them at room temperature until they're ripe. Once they're ripe, you can move them to the fridge to prolong their freshness. But bananas should never go in the fridge until they're fully ripe, or you'll end up with brown peels and mushy fruit. For leafy greens like spinach and lettuce, wrap them in a damp paper towel before placing them in a breathable bag or container. This helps prevent wilting and keeps them crisp. One important tip is to avoid washing fruits and veggies before storing them unless you're sure you'll be eating them right away. Excess moisture can cause mold to form more quickly, shortening their shelf life. Now let's talk about bread. How many times have you bought a loaf of bread only to have it go stale before you could finish it? If you're storing bread in the fridge, you're actually making it go stale faster. The cold air dries it out, leaving you with hard, crumbly slices. Instead, store your bread in a bread box or airtight container at room temperature. If you're not going to finish it in a few days, slice it up and freeze it. When you need it, just toast or defrost the slices for a fresh taste. Eggs are another common food we often store wrong. While eggs should always be kept in the fridge, you should avoid placing them on the door, where the temperature fluctuates every time the door opens and closes. The best spot for eggs is on the middle shelf, where the temperature stays consistent. This helps keep them fresh for longer. One more thing to consider is organization. The more organized your fridge is, the easier it is to keep track of what's in there and prevent food from spoiling. Group similar items together and always keep your fridge at the proper temperature, ideally around 37 degrees Fahrenheit, 3 degrees Celsius. If your fridge is too full, cold air can't circulate properly, which means some foods may not stay as cool as they should. So, here's a question for you. What's the one food you often struggle to keep fresh in your kitchen? Have you tried any of these storage tips before? Or is there a new one you're excited to try? Now let's move forward and take a look at how we can make some of these foods last even longer without needing to rely on the fridge. You'd be surprised at how many foods can stay fresh and delicious without ever going in the fridge. Number 6. Common mistakes to avoid in food storage. Now that we've covered some essential food storage tips, let's address some common mistakes people often make. Mistakes that can cost you money and even affect your health. Whether it's storing food in the wrong place or not organizing your fridge properly, these little errors can add up and lead to food that goes bad too quickly. One of the biggest mistakes is overcrowding the fridge. We've all been guilty of this, right? We stuff the fridge with as much as we can, thinking we're making the most out of the space. But when the fridge is packed to the brim, cold air can't circulate properly, and some foods may not stay as cool as they should. This leads to uneven cooling, and some items might spoil faster than expected. To avoid this, make sure your fridge isn't overcrowded. Organize it so air can flow freely, and keep things visible so you're not forgetting about food tucked away in the back. Another mistake is refrigerating canned foods after opening them without transferring them to another container. Once you open a can, the metal can react with the food and alter its flavor. Not to mention it can cause the food to spoil faster. Always transfer any leftover canned goods into airtight containers, preferably glass or plastic, before placing them in the fridge. This simple step can make a huge difference in preserving the flavor and safety of your food. Let's talk about onions and potatoes. A lot of people store them together because they seem like a natural match, but they actually shouldn't be stored near each other. Potatoes release moisture and gases that can cause onions to spoil faster. Onions, in turn, can make potatoes sprout and soften more quickly. Keep them in separate spots, ideally in a cool, dry place, like a pantry or cupboard, where both can stay fresh for longer. You might also be guilty of forgetting to label and date your food. This is an easy one to overlook, but it can really make a difference in how well you manage your food storage. By labeling leftovers or new food items with the date you open them, you can keep track of what needs to be used up first. It's an easy way to avoid food waste and ensure you're eating things at their freshest. Imagine this: you have leftover soup in the fridge, but you forgot when you made it. Labeling it helps you avoid eating it past its prime and ensures you're not taking any risks with foodborne illnesses. And don't forget about organizing your fridge by food group. Keeping similar items together, like dairy, meats, and vegetables, helps ensure they're stored at the right temperature. For example, dairy products should be kept on the middle shelves, where the temperature is more consistent. Meats should be stored on the lowest shelves to prevent any potential drips from contaminating other foods. This simple organization helps you use your fridge efficiently and ensures that everything stays fresh for as long as possible. Now, have you made any of these storage mistakes in your kitchen? Maybe you've overcrowded your fridge, forgotten to label leftovers, or stored potatoes and onions together? If so, which tip are you most excited to try out to improve your food storage? If you're still watching and find the information valuable, please feel free to comment below with any storage tips you've learned, or if there's anything else you'd like to share. And if you haven't subscribed yet, it's a great time to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. Your support really motivates us to continue creating helpful content for you. Now let's move forward and explore how to make your food last even longer without needing to rely on refrigeration. You'll be amazed at how many foods can stay fresh and delicious without being tucked away in the fridge. Let's dive in. Number 7. How to make food last longer without refrigeration. Now that we've gone over proper food storage in the fridge, let's talk about something a bit more surprising. How to make your food last longer without relying on refrigeration. You might think the fridge is a must for keeping things fresh, but in reality, there are many foods that can thrive perfectly fine without being chilled. First, let's start with fresh herbs. Many people think herbs like basil, cilantro, and parsley need to be refrigerated, but that's not always the best way to keep them fresh. Instead of wrapping them in a plastic bag and tossing them in the fridge, treat them like flowers. Trim the stems, place them in a glass of water, and loosely cover them with a plastic bag. Keeping them on the counter like this can actually extend their life for days, and you won't have to worry about them wilting so quickly. This method not only preserves their flavor, but also gives your kitchen a fresh, green touch. Next, let's talk about root vegetables like carrots, beets, and radishes. These can be tricky to store, especially when we're used to throwing them in the fridge. But guess what? These vegetables actually last longer when stored in sand or sawdust in a cool, dry place. This is an old-fashioned technique, but it works wonders. Just remove the leafy tops before storing, as they can draw moisture away from the roots and cause them to spoil faster. Instead, keep the roots in a cool, dark place, like a basement or a pantry. The sand or sawdust helps keep them crisp and fresh for weeks. Another great food to store without refrigeration is bread. If you've ever put bread in the fridge, you know it can quickly turn dry and stale. The fridge pulls out the moisture and changes the texture, making it less enjoyable to eat. Instead, store your bread in a bread box or a paper bag at room temperature. If you have extra bread that you won't be able to eat right away, slice it up and freeze it. That way you can pull out only what you need, and the bread will taste just as fresh as the day you bought it. You may also want to reconsider how you store bananas. Storing them in the fridge can turn their peels black and make them mushy, but they actually do best when stored at room temperature. Bananas naturally ripen on the counter, and if you have a bunch, you can separate the bananas to slow down the ripening process, so they last longer. And don't worry, once they're ripe, you can pop them in the fridge to extend their freshness for a few more days. Similarly, avocados should be kept at room temperature until they ripen. Once ripe, they're good to go in the fridge for a few days. This process helps prevent them from turning mushy or browning too quickly. Just remember, don't put them in the fridge until they're fully ripe, or they may never soften the way they should. You might not think of onions and garlic as foods that don't need refrigeration, but keeping them at room temperature in a well-ventilated spot is actually the best way to store them. Use a mesh bag or a basket and store them in a dry area away from potatoes. They'll stay fresh for weeks, and you won't have to worry about them getting soft or sprouting. So, have you ever tried storing your herbs or root vegetables without the fridge? Or maybe you've been putting bananas in the fridge without realizing it affects their ripening? What new storage technique are you excited to try now? Now let's move forward and take a look at the environmental and financial benefits of storing food properly. By making these small changes, not only will you extend the life of your food, but you'll also save money and help the planet. Let's dive into how better food storage can make a positive impact on your wallet and the environment. Number 8, the environmental and financial benefits of proper food storage. Now that we've covered how to store your food for maximum freshness and safety, let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Proper food storage isn't just about keeping your fridge organized or ensuring that your meals taste fresh. It can have a significant impact on your wallet and the environment too. That's right. By simply storing your food properly, you can save money and contribute to a more sustainable lifestyle. Think about the money you spend on groceries every week. If you're throwing away food because it spoiled too quickly or was stored incorrectly, that's money down the drain. For seniors, especially, managing your budget effectively is important. Why buy more when you can make your food last longer and prevent waste? By using proper storage techniques like freezing bread, storing potatoes outside the fridge, or organizing your pantry, you'll reduce the number of trips to the store and stretch your grocery budget further. Let's talk about food waste for a second. According to recent statistics, millions of tons of food are thrown away each year due to spoilage, and a lot of that comes from improper storage. If we all made small changes in the way we store our food, we could reduce food waste dramatically. When food is thrown out, not only are we wasting money, but we're also wasting the resources used to grow, transport, and package that food. Less food waste means fewer resources used, which is better for the environment. Proper food storage isn't just good for the wallet, it's also good for reducing our carbon footprint. Think about it. Every time we throw food away, we're contributing to landfills, which release harmful gases like methane. If we can keep our food fresh longer, we're helping to reduce the amount of waste in landfills and ultimately cutting down on greenhouse gas emissions. Every little bit counts when it comes to sustainability, and being mindful of how we store our food can make a real difference. For example, freezing food instead of letting it go bad cuts down on the amount of food we need to buy and keeps it fresh for much longer. Not only are you saving money, but you're also helping to reduce the environmental impact of your food purchases. When food is kept fresh, it doesn't need to be replaced as often, meaning less transportation, less packaging, and less energy used to keep it in the supply chain. Another easy change is buying food in bulk. Bulk buying can be a great way to save money, but it's essential to store the food properly so that it doesn't spoil before you can use it. If you buy large quantities of grains, nuts, or even fruits and vegetables, ensure they're sealed tightly in airtight containers and stored in a cool, dry place. This simple practice will save you money in the long run and help minimize the need for extra trips to the store. How much money do you think you've wasted on food that went bad too soon? Are there any storage tips you're excited to try that could help you reduce food waste and save some extra cash? If you're still watching and find this information valuable, please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. What food storage habits have helped you save money or reduce waste? If you haven't subscribed yet, consider doing so and turning on the notification bell so you never miss an update. Your support truly motivates us to continue creating helpful content. So, we've covered a lot of ground today. From understanding the importance of proper food storage to learning how simple changes in how we store our food can save money, improve health, and even protect the environment. By avoiding common mistakes, using the right storage techniques, and choosing the right spots for your food, you're not just making meals last longer, but you're also ensuring they stay fresh, nutritious, and delicious. Remember, small changes in your food storage habits can lead to big improvements in your health, your wallet, and the world around you. Whether it's storing tomatoes at room temperature instead of the fridge, organizing your pantry to reduce waste, or freezing bread to prevent it from getting stale, these simple actions make a huge difference. But now I'd love to hear from you. What are some food storage habits you've adopted over the years? Have you tried any of the tips we discussed today? Or do you have any other tricks that help keep your food fresh? Drop a comment below and share your experiences with us. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our future videos. Your support means the world to us, and we're excited to keep sharing tips and advice that can help you live a healthier, more sustainable life. Let's keep making small changes together that lead to big, positive impacts. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.